Hello and welcome to another episode of the Meet the Translator podcast. This episode is also the first and probably only episode of 2025, and it's a good one. Join me, Dot Roberts, as I chat to Bex Elder about diversifying into copywriting as a translator. We'll find out how she developed her copywriting skills and what those are, as well as how the new service changed her business. Bex also shares some useful tips and resources for translators who are looking to add a fun new string to their bow. Hi Bex, welcome to the Meet the Translator podcast. Thank you so much for being here today.
I'm excited to be here. I just feel like I'm having a wee catch up with a friend, so it's lovely.
Oh yeah, it's a nice one, and we are going to be talking all about diversifying into copywriting as a translator, which is what you have done as a translator and copywriter. So I thought we'd start with can you sort of do a bit of an introduction and kind of tell everyone what it is that you do and what kind of clients you work with and that sort of thing?
Yeah, so I am Bex. I am based in Aberdeen, which is beautiful and sunny today. Delightful. I work as a marketing translator and copywriter. So I did my undergrad at Heriot-Watt in translation and interpreting, and then basically couldn't necessarily find an in-house job I wanted. Thought I'll take the risk of going freelance, I don't have any obligations. And now it's been 8 years, and somewhere along the way I fell into copywriting, which we're going to talk more about. Types of clients I work with, I tend to work either with marketing agencies or my favourite type of clients are small businesses. So coffee shops, worked with therapy dog charities, asset management companies. I was about to say charities, that's not right. Just finished one for a sports broadcasting company, and then also tourism, hospitality, so hotels, restaurants, all the fun stuff.
Sounds like a nice little range of different things you got going on. With different
I think so.
Clients. It's always good to have a bit of variety. So, as the listeners to my podcast are mostly translators, could you maybe just kind of give a brief explanation of what copywriting actually is? What does it entail?
Yeah, so I like to think of copywriting as effectively marketing translation or transcreation without having the source text there first. So rather than having, for me, the French or the Spanish, I have a blank page and I'm writing that in English as my native language. The process is a little bit different in terms of you could be working from a brief, kind of like transcreation, but I specialize in website copywriting. So typically the brief is, I would like my website written. So that's the kind of thing that I do. I write people's websites and then things like newsletters or blogs.
So you kind of mentioned that you studied translation, right? How did you kind of become a translator and a copywriter?
Yeah, so despite translation literally being part of my undergrad, I would spend 4 hours a week, at least every year, doing translation. I didn't realise it was an actual job until we had a starting work as a translator or interpreter day in 4th year. So it took me a long time to figure out, this could actually be a career. That's fun. And then, like I said, a lot of the jobs, I really want to move back to Aberdeen, which is home for me. Not really any translation jobs up here. But then even looking wider, it felt like a lot of them were project management, and I didn't want to project manage. I wanted to translate. And so took the risk of going freelance and started out just writing to every agency I could find, using prose, all of that kind of thing, just to kind of get my foot in the door and get some experience. And then throughout my business so far, I'd say there's been a couple of key evolution moments. So one was the combo of COVID and Brexit, really fun time for everyone. But during that time I kind of thought, okay, who are my favorite clients? What do I actually want to focus on? I'd say before that I was kind of doing anything and everything. And I realised I loved text that anyone would read, kind of quote unquote normal people would read. So like websites and tourist information and all of that kind of thing. And so decided to specialize into marketing translation. And then along the line, I think an agency client asked me if I did copywriting, and I was like, no, I don't know what that is. They explained it and they were like, well, do you want to have a go? And I was like, yeah, sure. So started doing that, kind of had the joy of being able to learn that in a paid context, and then did some more training around it and kind of moved from being like a translator who does some writing on the side to really pivoting again and styling myself as a translator and copywriter.
I actually had a similar thing with one of my clients where I was doing translation for them, and then I was translating their like articles on their website, and then they were like, oh, could you like do a bit of copywriting? And it made it a lot easier to like get into, because I already had been translating the text and writing with their sort of tone of voice, and then it was just kind of like, okay, well, I already know what you talk about and what you sound like, so it made it like a lot easier. I don't really do I don't like advertise that I do copywriting, but I have like dipped into it.
Don't inquire for it is what you're saying.
Yeah. Like I don't, yeah, but I have kind of dipped into it with a few clients just because they've kind of said like, oh, could you also just do this? And sometimes it just kind of ties in with what you're already doing as a translator, and sometimes we do just randomly offer these little extra services that we don't necessarily advertise, and I wouldn't necessarily have felt comfortable doing that for a brand new client, but because I already knew them and everything, it kind of just like fitted in. So it sounds like it's a nice kind of, definitely a nice way to like ease into it and learn it and get feedback as well from the client.
I feel like sometimes as translators we do get these random moments. I know I've had one of like transcription and being like, I hate this, I'm awful at it, I'm not the person you want to do it. Similar with like subtitling, and sometimes you have those moments and you try it out and it's not for you, and that's totally fine. Other times you're like, oh cool, like I can do this, but I'd probably rather do it with my existing clients, I don't want to offer it as a service. And then other times you stumble across something and you're like, wow, I love doing this, and actually like I do it well, and I can offer that as a whole service as well. So I feel like it's interesting, like the range of things that translators can get up to. I'm thinking of like Josie writing like sustainability reports and kind of climate change things. I'm thinking of like Heather Easton kind of going into dementia friendly writing and accessibility, and just like, yeah, it's fascinating the things that people end up picking up along the way with their transferable skills.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the benefits of working with like smaller clients or direct clients, because often you get to do more of that than with agencies, I find, because agencies will just be like, right, this is a translator, we'll send you a translation.
Yeah.
Like, and you might not even be working on the same type of text at all. But as always, it's nice to have variety. Try out different things.
Keep things interesting.
Yeah. So if you had to pick one and someone was like, you can only, either you have to be a translator or you have to be a copywriter, you can't be both, what would you pick and why?
Okay, I think my answer is going to be the same. If it was translation and you could promise me like I'd be doing it from scratch for like really interesting clients who are going to pay well, it would be a closer battle. But I think I would still go copywriting, because I love, I do like a lot of brand strategy with it as well, and kind of establishing brand communications, brand voice. And I love getting to know a business, getting to know like why they started, what makes them so good at what they do and so different from everyone else, and then getting to show that off to everyone. And especially like as small business owners, we can massively downplay like what we do. And like, I know I'm guilty of that in my own business, but then getting to do that for someone else and be like, look how great this person is. And then they have a website they're like excited to show people. I absolutely love that feeling.
Yeah. Do you happen to have an example to hand of a really good bit of copywriting that you have done and that you're proud of? Maybe just like a heading for something, or like a small something. Sorry, this is just completely out of the blue, but
yes, I mean, I feel like I have lots. Gosh, I'm getting really braggy. But I have just finished doing a website for a sports broadcasting company, and they do a lot of like college sports broadcasting in the States. So like high level college sport that wouldn't be on major TV channels yet. And like tennis, volleyball and stuff, which maybe doesn't get the same coverage. And their tagline is "For the fans who never had a channel," which I was pretty proud of.
I like that. That sounds good. Well done.
Thank you. Appreciate the affirmation.
So what sort of extra skills do you need? So as for anyone who's maybe already a translator, what extra skills do you need to then also like be a copywriter?
Yeah, so I think the first skill is to be a good writer, which lots of translators are. So tick. I think one is to be able to kind of embrace the flexibility and the freedom and creativity, which again, I know some translators are really happy with. I know other translators love the kind of fidelity to text. I would say if that's kind of where you're at, then that might require a little bit of a mindset shift. And then I think an ability I find much more than in my translation clients, I have a lot of conversations with people, which to be honest, I'd love to incorporate into my translation process. I just find that the clients I work with aren't always so interested in that. But I would do things like I would send clients a questionnaire to kind of get to know them and their business. We'd have a conversation, like I present their website strategy, I get feedback and have a lot more conversation. And also an ability to think strategically, so not just like words that sound nice, but actually words that are going to get businesses the results that they're aiming for.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because probably like some translators will already probably have all of those skills, and then some translators might need to work on them a bit more. I guess it kind of depends what areas they're already translating in or what they might be doing. Or I mean, we all kind of pick up different skills in different places anyway. So
and I guess it depends on like the area of copywriting you're in as well. Like I'm speaking from someone who mostly does like website copywriting and brand and external focusing, but I know there's like a specialism in technical copywriting, and so if you're a technical translator, that could be an excellent fit for you, and you could well already have all those skills, and maybe you're hearing me speak and you're like, oh, I don't know about that, but if you're a technical copywriter, you could be the perfect fit.
Yeah, so I guess it just kind of depends. It's kind of like a case-by-case thing on how ready you might be as a translator to also do copywriting. But like, yeah, since you started since you started offering copywriting as a service, how has it sort of changed your business as a whole?
Such a good question. I think it's helped me think of myself more as a business. I will still say I'm just a translator and copywriter, but I think on the whole, it helps me present myself a bit better and to think more strategically about how I present my business. So rather than saying, you know, this is what I do, talking about the results that I get for clients, whether that's, you know, helping clients launch internationally and ensuring they have the same like brand voice throughout, or whether that is I sometimes talk about like, you know, helping companies tell their story to the people who matter most. And then I think as well it has allowed me to tap in more to the strategic part of my brain. So yeah, developing like this brand communications work, and kind of I tend to split it into 3 sections of like the business's purpose, its personality, and its positioning. So looking at everything from like USPs to competitor analysis to brand personas, all of that and so much more, and actually digging into like what differentiates businesses before like writing for them. And so even if I'm not being paid to do that, there'll be part of my brain that's thinking about that, whether that's for a translation or a copywriting client.
Mm-hmm. And so I know how you said that you started out like just doing copywriting as like a kind of extra thing for some of your translation clients. Do you still offer both translation and copywriting to a lot of the same clients, or do you sort of have your translation clients and your copywriting clients?
They tend to be more separate now, but there are definitely points where they overlap. Tends most often to be either like agencies who are multinational, multilingual, and so they maybe need both services, or it can be like you're using those skills and you're not necessarily saying you're using them, so like in marketing, translation, or whatever, I'd be using some of those skills, but I wouldn't necessarily be saying, oh, I'm copywriting for you here and I'm going to charge you differently. I would just do a project fee wherever possible. But then I had a really fun one the other day where I was copywriting for a client in English, and they are looking to have that copy in various languages. And so still unsure where it's going to land, but I was like, hey, like even just stuff like this is the plugin I would recommend for WordPress. Like I know for some of this you want a machine translation, but at the very least I think you should have your home and your about page in like your key languages so that like the core of your message is cutting through. If that's helpful, like I obviously have a whole bunch of translators in my network I can recommend. I could also, you know, prep the files. I could effectively project manage that for you. And so I don't know where they're going to land, but even being able to offer that feels like a quite unique thing. I mean, it's not unique because lots of translators could do it, but it's like quite a specialized service you can offer to clients versus if you are a monolingual copywriter.
And it's a good, like, I think it's a good thing to kind of remind our clients sometimes, like, what we can actually do and how we can help them, and kind of think, like, oh, what might actually be useful for this, instead of just doing the work that they offer us, just like thinking like, oh, what could actually be useful, and offering them more, because I think a lot of the time they probably don't realize how valuable we can actually be, like more than just doing the translation or the copywriting. Like,
totally. And I think
networks.
yeah, exactly. And I think actually expanding into copywriting has made me realize like how little people sometimes know about translation, and they don't even realize that's like a thing that people do. And so even being able to like offer that education, like in many ways it's not going to benefit me if I'm writing for them in English. I'm not going to be their translator, but I can offer that insight. I can set them up with people, even as simple as being like, hey, like you should check out the ITI or the ATA directory. Like people just don't know that exists.
Yeah, and I feel like by doing that we're also kind of supporting the like industry as a whole, because we're like bringing awareness to what we all do. So it kind of a nice little wholesome bit.
Always enough work for everyone. And I honestly love when I get to refer someone. I'm like, ooh, I hope it works out. Tell me all about it.
It's so nice when you're like, oh my God, this is like the perfect thing for like this specific person that I know, and I know that they'll be really good at it. It like feels so nice.
It's
like,
so fun.
And then the clients are so like appreciative as well, because they're like, oh wow, like you've just saved us a whole job of having to find someone. Like
also, and even if they've reached out to you cold and you're not the right person, like if then they have a project that you are the right person for, they're going to remember you, and they're going to be like, oh, that person was really helpful, and they hooked me up with this great person, and now actually I have a project where I need them. Yeah,
so it kind of just helps everyone out.
A happy little cycle.
So would you recommend, I mean, I'm guessing since you're doing it and you seem to be enjoying doing it, would you recommend to other translators to branch into copywriting?
Yeah, I definitely would. I think obviously it'll be different depending on your skills, what you love doing. But for me, it's a really sweet spot of still that communication at the very core, the creativity, the strategic work that goes in. And what I really love about it, actually, which we don't always get in translation, is so much easier to showcase your work. So particularly obviously doing websites, like that's immediately in the public domain. And so it's really easy to be like, hey, like these are some of the things I worked on. And actually I think even just for my own, again, how I see my work, how I see my business, that has been a massive confident boost. And then being able to showcase that portfolio, and like there's definitely translation clients in there as well, but to then have people be like, wow, this is a great portfolio, gives me that confidence that sometimes when you're working on your own you are missing.
Mm-hmm. And one thing I just thought of actually, which I think when like a lot of people ask when they start translating is like, how do I find clients? And like with translation, it's kind of like, well, a lot of your clients are probably going to be based in the countries of your source languages rather than like local to you. So a lot of that, at least for me, I found like comes from like online.
Yeah.
Like they'll find me on LinkedIn or, you know, somewhere something online, because I mean, at least like for me, I don't live in, like I live in England, which is the country of my target language, not of either of my source languages.
So you're not going to have necessarily loads of people on your doorstep.
There's not a lot of like German or Dutch clients in England that need translation into English. Whereas I guess with copywriting, since you'd be doing it in your target language, do you find like you're able to go out and get like local clients? Like could you just walk down the street and do some copywriting for your local like coffee shop or something like that? Like is it like, what's kind of the process of finding clients? Is it quite different?
Yeah, I think it is and it isn't. Like you, I am living in my target language, so wouldn't have that abundance of potential clients. I've done a lot more trade shows just locally since diversifying into copywriting and more local networking, which is also just nice to like build up your local contacts. I've done some work for like a new coffee shop in Aberdeen. I did like their website, their in-house copy, their social media copy, and a coach as well, like a life coach. And I would love to like build on that more and be able to like meet people face to face. There's still a bunch of online, which is great, but one of the things that's lovely is actually it's the first time in my business where there's the potential of like referrals from, actually that's not quite true, I did have that in translation once, but more likely referrals from people in like your network. So like for instance, the business coach is like a family friend, but my mum was talking to her and she's like, oh, do you know like Bex writes websites now? And she's like, I didn't know that. And then that ended up being a paid job. And so that kind of thing is really fun, and doesn't always feel as possible with translation if you're living in your target country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes sense. So obviously like diversifying into copywriting as a translator sounds like a really fun thing to do, based on your experience. What tips or advice would you give to translators who are like, yeah, I want to try that?
I would say give it a go. And that could be as simple as like, I say it's simple. This is actually one of the hardest things to do. I don't know why I'm giving this as a tip. But like writing copy for yourself. Do you enjoy that? Genuinely, like the last time I refreshed my website, I worked with another copywriter just to kind of have that collaborative space and to also pull things out of my own head because it's hard to talk about your own business. But that kind of thing. Or what are my other tips? My tips are really to give it a go. That is my top tip. But also to think like, where do my skills overlap? So, you know, are you a technical translator and actually therefore you would be great at writing, you know, engineering reports in English or your target language? Are you a marketing translator like me? And so kind of marketing copy would be ideal for you. So think about your skills. But no, I'd say give it a go, and also just thinking about where the areas where you maybe need to upskill in. So like one of the things that I invested time and money on was SEO. I did Nikki Pilkington's SEO course, and that was absolutely huge for me in terms of often I'm working with people who are SEO specialists, even just understanding their process a bit more. But also if I'm working for a client and it's just me, being able to really confidently do like on-page SEO for them is huge and really valuable. Also thinking about what can you offer as a translator and a copywriter. So thinking about where your skills as a translator and copywriter overlap that not everyone can offer. So I will often position myself as two experts in one writer. So, you know, if you're a translator, you're benefiting from my copywriting skills, like persuasive language, language that converts, all that kind of thing, SEO knowledge, that sort of thing. That was if you're a translation client. If you're a copywriting client, you're benefiting from someone who's used to working with international brands, who has cultural awareness that not everyone does, who has that network if you're going into other markets, who can help you prepare your text for translations, etc., etc. And as translators and copywriters, that is quite a unique set of skills that should be celebrated if that's how you choose to diversify.
Mm-hmm. And I also have another tip to add to that. Subscribe to Bex's newsletter called Copy Cues, which has a lot of... can you sort of tell everyone a little bit about that?
Yeah, it is my little passion project, where basically every month I put out this newsletter, Copy Cues Club, and it rips copy from either a song or a movie script, and it talks about why it's good copy, like why does it work, and then 3 ways to kind of apply that in your own copy. So yeah, you should check it out. I would love to have you as part of the gang.
Where can people subscribe to that if they want to?
That is another really good question. It is bexelder.co.uk/copy-cues-club.
Okay, cool. I will also make a note of that in the resources so that anyone listening, you can just click on a little link and not have to type it all out. And do you have any other courses or resources that you would recommend to anyone wanting to diversify into copywriting?
Yeah, I did one course which was fine. It was helpful in terms of building confidence, and I think a lot of translators are maybe like me and they like to have a little certificate to say like I can do this thing, and it was okay. But I have heard incredibly good things about Copy Hackers and the courses that they do. I'm a member of Pro Copywriters, which is kind of similar to the ITI. You wouldn't have a kind of membership exam that you can pass to prove you're a good copywriter, but loads of really great CPG resources there, and they run a conference every year called CopyCon. Mm-hmm. If you are a woman, the Female Copywriters Alliance by Dee Primmett is just the most lovely little community on Discord of female copywriters. And then I absolutely love, like, the one newsletter that I will always read is Harry Dry's Marketing Tips. It is so good, like the way he pulls out copy, and I absolutely love it. I believe he is releasing a course soon, and as soon as that course comes out, I think it'll be worth its weight in gold.
Thank you. I might get you to, have you got those written down on a list? Because if you have, I might ask you to send me so I can add it in the resources. I think like we've covered a lot of different things, but if anyone listening does have any more questions, or they want to, I don't know, chat to you, reach out to you, they have a project for you maybe, are you happy for them to reach out? And if so, what is the best way for them to do that?
Always up for a chat. You can reach me on my website, bexelder.co.uk, or on LinkedIn. We've talked about Copy Cues clubs. That is a great way to stay up to date with all that I'm doing. And I mean, this feels a bold thing to start teasing, but I am in the process of developing some courses. And so if you want to stay in the loop about that as well, signing up to the newsletter or following me on LinkedIn is a great place to start.
That is really exciting. I didn't even
know you were doing it. Could still be a year away, but I'm excited about it.
I didn't know you were going to be doing that, so that sounds really cool. And I'm excited to hear more about that. Thank you so much, Bex. Thanks, been
Dot.
Really lovely having you here on probably my only podcast episode of 2025.
It feels an honour, and excited for you to be on mat leave.
Thank you. Oh yeah, to anyone listening who doesn't know, I'm going to be having a baby next month, so that is why I'm probably going to have a bit of a break from the podcast.
I feel like I just dropped a bombshell there.
No, it's... I mean, I've posted about it on LinkedIn. I'm sure I mentioned it on LinkedIn, so people might know already. But yeah, sorry to anyone listening who was hoping for lots more episodes. But there will be more next year, I'm sure. So yeah, thank you, and have a lovely day.
You too.
Thank you. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Meet the Translator podcast. Make sure to check out the show notes for useful links. And as always, if you have any comments or questions about the podcast in general, send an email to meetthetranslator@gmail.com. Massive thanks to Bex for joining me today. I look forward to coming back next year with some new episodes.